Well, one of the features that we are most proud of in this release is the so-called release document view. Those of you who know aligned elements knows that we have a great tool for compiling our Word documents, populating them with design control elements from aligned elements. And we also have this built-in signature, e-signature process to sign off on documents. And what we have created now is a compiled overview of all the signed off documents, released documents, and place them in a single view. So this new feature is available per default once you have upgraded to version 3.0. And depending on if you use electronic signatures or not, this list will then appear in a slightly different manner. But what everybody has then is all the files with their corresponding signed document, where you can click on this blue link and the file link to immediately access and download the document. So that's like a one-click access to those documents. They come presented in their file chapters that are collapsible, so you can easily find your documents. You can provide, or you can use the search as you type search in the upper left here to filter. You can also configure which attributes in from your files and your signature objects that you actually want to display here in this overview. And there is a number of actions that you can apply here, including download, should you like to download the currently released documents. So this is an excellent entry point for all those who are just interested in what are actually the released state of our current documents, what are the most recent released versions of all our documents. You can see here that some of these documents are marked with a yellow dot, and this indicates that a new version of this document is being in progress right now. So in this example, this first document, it was released, but since the release, somebody has started working on a new draft. So that also is then visually indicated here, and you can click on the yellow dot in order to navigate to that latest draft. Of course, this view comes with user group permissions, which means that you can control who is able to see this. And you can also, should you like not this to be displayed at all, hide it per configuration. Now, I rely on you being the community that uses aligned elements to try this out and give me the feedback on how you think that this could be enhanced or changed or optimized for the best possible use for you guys. So we have built this on popular request, and I hope you find it useful. And I also rely on you to tell me how we can make these better. So don't be shy. Yeah, this is a feature that is available only in the web client. So then we have also included a number of new features in the testing area. One of the ones that you going to realize the quickest is that we have improved the performance of loading the test run explorer, but also the performance of loading individual test runs. And this is done with an internal cache mechanism, meaning that when you start aligned elements as the first user after a restart, it may take some time to load this test run explorer, but after that, it should behave a lot faster, and it should be a lot faster to switch between test cases and the test run, or execute the tests and then back to the test run. We have also made some changes to the tools available to work with table attributes. Some of you have probably already used table attributes, for example, when you write test cases, and therefore you also know that these are rich text attributes, meaning that you can enter things like rich text, tables, images, links, etc. in these cells. And the feedback that we got from the community is that this rich text toolbar every now and then tends to cover the information that you are interested in. So what we've done now is to fix the toolbar here at the top of the table attributes, so we will not block anything when you work as usual. However, you have access to to a quick toolbar if you mark a word. So if I double click on this word here, we have this pop-up toolbar that is available now, and that is something that you can use then but is only there once you have actually selected a word. It also means that I can insert a table like this and in a cell, and should I like to operate on this table, we also have a context menu. So you right click in the table now to get access to table specific operations. And we hope that this makes the operations in the table attribute a little bit smoother for you. Another usability update that we've done is that we collapse the tag section here on the top per default. So if you use tags, this section is collapsed, and if you want to show them, you just expand this and you get access to your tags. Moving on to more changes here in the test area. In the test run management, we have added a few new features, such as if you should remove an individual item here and then add it back. Some of you might have already realized that if you remove a test case and then add it back, the executed test case is not added back automatically. We have had several customers reach out to us and say that they would prefer that if a test case has an executed test case in a test run and you by mistake remove a test case and then want to re-add it, that the executed test case is also re-added, and that is also now the case. Furthermore, we have made sure that the ordering of this test run grid stays fixed as you keep on executing your test cases. You might have experienced that when you execute the test cases, there is a sudden reorder sometimes when you move back to the test run, and that is also something that we have fixed. Furthermore, we have strengthened the test run overview by optionally being sensitive to the start, end, and status, meaning that if you should like to have further control over when tests are executed, you can now optionally prevent testers from executing test cases outside of the start and end period, and also when the status is not set to execute. So this gives you some further levers how you can then control the test management. We have also added a new query filter for test runs. So now there is a dedicated filter in the query section where you can ask, for example, are the following test cases part of a test run, or are they not part of a test run, or have they been covered by any test run, etc. Something that was previously not available. So that is something that you can use now, an additional query filter when you use your queries to check if something is a part of a test run. This is available both in the web and the Windows client. And I should also stress that the some of the performance increases that we've done in the Test Run Explorer and the Test Run is also available in the Windows client. Then we have received a lot of feedback on the review management, and we have tried to improve this based on your request. The first thing that you would see is a slightly different kind of color coding going on here on the left side, where we try to use colors to indicate what the status is of the object under review. So yellow would then mean that this particular object was never part of a review prior to this particular review. Green means that it was part of a successful review and it hasn't been changed since. Red means that it was part of a review but has been changed after the review took place, but before this review, and you can then click on this red looking glass to see the gap form indicating the changes between the previous successful review and the current state. Blue further then indicates that this object was changed during the review. So maybe we found something that we wanted to change. We wrote down the change what we wanted to do. We implemented it, and the blue color then indicates that now we have a different state here, but that's something that happened during this review. And again, you can click on the looking glass to see exactly what these changes are in a gap form. Our users have reached out to us and say that they really like the comments mechanism. We have added some additional features to that. One of them being the possibility to decline or accept or reject a comment. So that means that a comment being a question or being an opinion of some sort is something that you can then in a joint group decide on, where is this something that we want to implement. Then you click on the accept button being green, or if you decide together that this is something that we don't want to do, you click on the red decline button, indicating that you have actually assessed and declined this particular comment. Now, this is of course also available in the review section, and we hope you find it useful when you go through the observations from your reviewees. This is only available in the web client. Furthermore, we have implemented some changes when it comes to the review status. We have expanded the types of status a review can have. Previously, it was just open or closed, but now it is also possible to then reject the review, meaning that you can finalize a review, but not automatically mark everything as successfully reviewed. This is something that needs to be switched on per configuration. It's available in the Windows and the web client. Furthermore, something that many of our users have asked for is the possibility to see exactly what changed during a review. And under the Actions button here, you now have a new menu item that says Show Review Changes, which then takes you to a review comparison screen. It looks very much like the snapshot comparison screen. And here you can then see color indicated if something has happened between the start and the end of the review. You can use the filter here to, or the filter columns here to filter out only the specific items that actually have changed. You can inspect them by clicking on this button. And last but not least, you can get a written gap report with color highlighted changes in a Word report that then operates on the filtered items that you have here in this Show Review Changes. And we now hope that this gives you further support during your review actions, that you actually have a proper output of the review, where you can use this to document exactly what you have changed in your review protocol. This is only available in the web clients. Continuing with talking a little bit about changes that have happened in the signature area, we have a new workflow step, which then optionally tags on the version of the document to the PDF file name. So that means that you can keep your Word file names version agnostic, but then when you decide to create a signature item, Aligned Elements will automatically then append the actual document version to the PDF name of PDF file name. That is then the actual file that is being signed. I hope you find this useful. This is something that is available both in the web and the Windows version. Continuing with smaller changes, on popular request, we have added the possibility that you can actually, as a user, reject in an electronic signature flow. Previously, you could either just sign it, but there was no proper way to communicate that you did not want to sign and for a good reason and officially wanted to reject the signature. Per configuration, we can now add this particular action item, something that is only available in the web version, but that then further expands on the capabilities of our electronic signatures. We have also added another query filter for signatures. So the filter section here keeps expanding. Now you can also check if a file has actually a closed signature or an open signature or hasn't been signed at all. So just expanding on the query section here a little bit with adding filters that then connects files and signatures. This is available both in the web and the Windows version. Something that many of you have asked for many years is the possibility to disable a snapshot. That is now available under particular circumstances. You see the disabling button here in the upper right corner of the display snapshot view. This will be available to people with project management rights, and it also is a prerequisite that the snapshot is not part of an active review. But if you made a mistake and you made a snapshot that you want to remove, now disabling this snapshot is possible via this button here. This is available in the web client. Last but not least, we have expanded on the project settings, adding something that is called type name mapping. This is for advanced use of an aligned elements template configuration. So we have realized that some of our customers want to use a given configuration in many different circumstances, where they want to have the possibility to sometimes hide particular templates that are not applicable for that particular project, or that they want to have a variant of a particular template that is only active for a particular project. And without going into further details, we have now added the UI support for this in the web client. And this now enables you, for example, to have an alternative risk calculation in a given project without having to copy the entire template set and create a new risk calculation. You can now add a dedicated risk calculation RVT file to your configuration that is only applicable for a particular project. And that's reducing the need for maintenance and administration of your templates.
So I'm gonna continue with a bunch of more interesting features. We all have learned to love and hate Word, and we know this is something that is very powerful within Aligned Elements, the way we actually create proper live reports with a lot of content that you can author on your own, and also add the formal document objects into them. But it's a bit cumbersome and it's error prone because every user has a lot of options. So now we have something that we built into our assistant mechanism, which allows you to generate a Word file object that then is being automatically populated also with data. So you start with some kind of a template that we have here on the left-hand side of the screen, where we have placeholders that define what kind of content from aligned elements should end up in that document. And then when running the assistant, we can allow the users to pick one of these templates and say exactly which content from my current project should we actually put into that template, and we generate a file object of that. I'm gonna show you how that is being done. So I've got an assistant here. It's called run generate file. This is something you can just request from us. It's a small standard configuration that is project agnostic. What we need though is of course to set up a proper Word template that has these placeholders in here. So I've done that, and this one is going to request us to add the project information. We only have one of those, and it's going to ask us to add a user need chapter. And here you can imagine that maybe I would go for one of the subchapters or take the top one that I have right now. So I've selected the top one, meaning that I will now create a file object and populate that with data. So here I've now built a new file object. It gets a new ID the way we used to doing it. It's built on this file that we have attached to it. I'm going to open it and show you what the content is like. Just a second, bear with me. We have Word opening up on the separate monitor. So this is the template that we have. A lot of standard stuff coming from my company templates, but we now have the product information in there. This is the item that I've just selected in my assistant, and we have the complete user needs structure in the document as well. So this is a more streamlined way of coming up with the first version of our file objects, and they can then, of course, continue living within aligned elements in the same way that we used to. But you don't have to open the add-in. You don't have to select the position where you want to enter the data from aligned elements. And we can, of course, make it a bit simpler to prepare these target documents for users of the project. So that's a big thing, which also includes trace tables, query results, and things like that that you can place in a file. Now, we have some add-ons when it comes to selecting items within the web client. Mainly, this has been around in the Windows client for a long time. By the way, the assistant step from the previous slide is in web only. And this is something that has been in the Windows client for a long time, copying chapter structures from one place to another, and also copy objects between projects. And there's also been a limitation in the web client that you could only select items from one type. And now we have this select more button here in the selection page, where you can say that I also want to select other type names and include that in my operation. And this button appears depending on the activity that you're doing. For example, setting a snapshot, exporting objects, and things like that. That allows you to select more different types, but creating an Excel report only limits it to one type, because there we have a certain set of columns that we're expecting in the report. And then in the UI for the chapter view, we have the new entries for copy this chapter structure to a different type name, or copy objects to a project, where we basically take the latest versions of the document objects that we select and copy them to another project. In the search, we also have the possibility of searching content from the comments. So there's basically two steps to this. A, if you click on the filter, you can check that we also want the search to include comments. And B, if you click on the search results, we can also display the comments in the page. And we hope this is going to be helpful for people working heavily with comments. They are usually also created during reviews. This is web only as well. Now, working with documents, we have actually had the possibility of keeping track of a document version since the beginning of Aligned Elements, but it's been kind of a low-level mechanism. It is still, it's using fields or doc properties within Word. Some of these old dialogues that people have kind of forgotten that they exist. You insert a doc property with the name version into document, and that one will automatically be updated by Aligned Elements with the doc version that we have. Now, to make it a bit more user-friendly, we have now updated the UI for the web version to allow you to automatically set the document version, or if you're working in the add-in, we can add a new row to the automatic revision history as well. And we have a slightly more hidden feature, the possibility of actually setting the document version as part of a workflow step. So let's say if I release this file here using each document, then I can choose that I would like to set some kind of a dedicated version that implies that it's been released, for example, upping it to the next major version. So starting with version 0.1, I could automatically have Aligned Elements to set it to version 1.0 when I actually go through a release procedure. For queries, we've added a couple of new placeholders for just describing what the query is all about. There's a query description. This is just for your internal information that you can communicate within the team. This is searching for something. This is doing something. It has no other practical use than just making it a bit easier to select the correct query. When you're a user of queries, just listing items and things like that. What has a bigger impact, though, in how we can define queries is that we can now also select what we're querying upon. So far, querying within Aligned Elements has always been on the most recent version that we have, the most current version. Now we can select that. We want to look at all revisions only return the last one matching, current revision including disabled, or current revisions only disabled, and a bunch of combinations like these. So you can now actually list older revisions of items within the project, and get them as a result. If you get something that's not most current, it will be marked red in the result view. So that's maybe good to understand. In the same way that when you open an old revision, we mark the ID as red. And this can maybe help you, search for old interesting data in your system. Another feature that we've added is something that we've taken to the trace tables and the charts as well, and this is this locked little checkbox here. It allows you to hide editing from common queries, trace tables, and charts. We will look at the charts and trace tables later on. From most users. So you can do that by restricting access to queries that you want to have commonly used without the project, within the project, and avoiding people from by chance just modifying them, and they should not, right? And here we have it for queries, trace tables, and charts. The way that you see if query, trace table, or chart has been locked is that the delete button in the UI is disabled per default. And this is the case for all users, regardless of the user rights. If you happen to be one of those users that are allowed to manage locked queries, then you need to have product management rights and the applicable chart, query, or trace table rights. Then you can go in, click edit, and unlock it, and then afterwards you can delete it. So it's about reducing the risk of actually removing a common query, trace table, or chart that we need for example, for reporting or for dashboards and things like that. Now, last but not least, I would like to show you a couple of usability things that we have. We've been working a bit on drag and drop operations and popovers and resizing of screen space and column space in the web client. Only the query things that they're also for the Windows client. They're available also for the Windows client as such, and it's fully compatible. And to make this a bit more visual, I'm going to pull in the proper client again, and we can have a look at that. So I'm going to start with showing a bit what the drag and drop thing is doing for us. Let's say I would like to set a trace down here with trace from, right? And I start pulling an ID, and when I do that, I don't see the drop zone. But if I go to that little blue button there, it's going to scroll down and show it to me, and I can drop it over there. I'm going to show it once again here. So right now on the screen, I don't see the drop zone. I'm going to pull the ID, and it's going to, if I go with the mouse to the scroll to drop zone, it's automatically going to scroll down, and I can drop it down here. And now I managed to set the trace right. So this is a little usability thing. You probably know from before that you can do a bit of screen space management by clicking on this little hamburger menu here, but we also allow you now to move this divider to make the screen bigger or smaller for either the chapter list or for the tabs here of the document items. And in the same way, when we go to a view where we have different columns, we have possibility of actually moving the column size by just moving the mouse over there. You get this little blue thing coming in. So if I'm going to do a couple of more fields here, we will see them, and I can move this around to make it maybe more or less readable, depending on my screen size and what I want to see. So that's a couple of usability things that we have, and we've of course also cleaned up a bit of this table header here to make it a bit more readable as well. And that's all from my side. I'm going to pull this out and make sure that I have not missed anything. Oh yes, no, popovers, of course, that's something. Something that we think is very helpful and practical, but they kind of disappeared before. if you didn't that just timed out and disappeared after I believe it was like 2 or 3 seconds. Now, if you keep the mouse cursor within the popover, it's gonna stay. If you go outside, it's gonna disappear. So go in there and put the mouse cursor in there, then you have all the time in the world to actually do things. And if you have something, for example, including a link, you can click on the link. It's fully functional, of course. And also, when we are in a view where we want to do drag and drop operation, if I start dragging, the popover will not appear anymore. So it's now sensitive to if I'm actually dragging something or not, and it only appears if I keep my mouse there for a little while hovering over the ID. So that's also something where we had a lot of feedback from customers that it's sometimes disturbing that we have the popover flickering when I actually want to do something else. For example, dragging an ID and setting a trace and things like that. So that's all from me. Thanks a lot for your attention. I'm wondering if you have some closing words, Carl.
Thank you very much, Anders. So again, I want to highlight that we are immensely thankful for all the great input that we have received from you, our community, and that's the underlying reason why we have implemented these changes. And that is also a recipe for the future that I would like to get your comments and feedback so we can take aligned elements in the direction that actually brings value to you guys. Now, if any one of you wonders, but what about my feature? I've been screaming about this feature for quite some time, and I didn't see here in the updates. Well, we had to do some prioritizing, and I'm sorry that we couldn't implement all the features in this particular one. But as you know, after the release is always before the release, so there will be many more releases to come. In this one, we managed to tuck in about 250 changes and new features, and we hope that you find them valuable. If anybody of you are using the Windows client right now and you are thinking about maybe switching to the web client, well, then we'd love to help you out. There is no additional cost to do that kind of switch, and we'd love to help you. You can use your existing licenses that you already have in both Windows and web. And as you can clearly see in this presentation, the direction in which we are going is heavily tending to the web client. So that's where most of the exciting features for the future are going to take place. Thank you again for joining us, and I look forward to see you here the next time. Have a great day.